Okay, this movie was ridiculous. It really was. It was a wash. But before I get started, spoilers. Actually, two types of spoilers. A 2-in-1 spoiler alert. One, if you haven't seen this movie, I will be talking about spoilers that happen in the movie. But also, if you have seen this movie and you liked this movie, I'm going to be spoiling that goddamn delusion too. Okay? So a two for one sale in spoilers on this video. Now, I want to make it clear. I went into this movie wanting to like this movie, ready to give this movie the benefit of the doubt. As an example, I went into this movie going, I don't care how they get the soldiers to the world with the monsters. Okay? I didn't care. I didn't care how stupid it was. I didn't care how forced it was. I didn't care how ridiculous it was. Because I knew that they had to get the soldiers to the world with the monsters because that was necessary. So before the movie even started, I was ready to give the movie the benefit of the doubt and give it a chance. So I didn't care how stupid it was that the way it was on how they got to that world. I knew that they had to come up with something, and it was just a stepping stone to, okay? So I wanted to like this movie. But I started writing notes, and it got to the point where it's like, there's no point. It was ridiculous. Like, okay. There's two scenes, though, that I have to talk about to establish how goddamn ridiculous this movie is. Okay? There's a scene. Now, we end up... Now, there's the guy with the bow and arrow. I can't remember his name. Now, we end up finding out that the reason the guy with the bow and arrow is where he is in the desert is because he was stranded there. Okay? Now, with the girl that's the captain, right? The soldier, the captain. I'll just call her the captain. When he's with the captain, he has a plan to deal with the Diablos monster, right? The Diablos. He goes, we're going to get the poison from the spider creatures, okay? We're going to give it to the Diablos, and that'll cause the Diablos to fall asleep. And I'm going, okay, then why haven't you already done that? If the guy with the bow and arrow already knew that was that would happen, if he knew that giving the Diablos the poison of the spider creatures would cause the Diablos to fall asleep, why didn't he already do it so that he could go back to the people that we end up finding out at the end of the movie? Not only that, how did he find out? How did he know that would happen? How did he know that you could use the poison of the spider-like creatures to cause the Diablos to fall asleep? Did he already try it out? Well, if he already tried it out and it succeeded, why in the name of God is he still there? Why wouldn't he have already left? Which leads to my second favorite scene and aspect of this movie, because it directly connects with the first one. They never use the poison anyway. They never need the poison anyway. Like, it's not that they're never given an opportunity to use the poison. They actually, there's numerous opportunities for them to use the poison. They just never bother doing it anyway. So like, what was the point of the plan of the poison when you never bothered using it anyway? Because the movie wanted it so that because the movie didn't want them to cause the Diablos to fall asleep. The movie wanted them to kill the Diablos with a blade through the back of its skull. Which, okay, which leads to, okay, because there's a whole bunch of other ridiculous aspects of this movie, but it can all be condensed into the fact that there are, when it comes to a sci-fi slash monster movie, there are two basic fundamental rules in regards to sci-fi slash monster movies. These are such basic, these are as basic and fundamental, okay, as needing a camera to film the movie, okay? And this movie absolutely ignores these two rules, okay? And here are the two rules. One, you actually have to establish rules. You have to establish rules for the monsters. You have to establish rules for the sci-fi elements of the film. You have to establish rules for the world building. Okay? Which directly leads to rule number 2. And rule number 2 is you have to follow the rules. Now the reason these two rules are such fundamental basic aspects of sci-fi monster movies is because these two rules provide the audience the ability to provide the suspension of disbelief necessary to accept the things that are happening in the movie. I'll give a quick example, right? A vampire movie. This vampire movie creates 3 arbitrary rules. And here's the thing, the rules can be arbitrary, can be anything that the movie wants. But as long as the movie follows them, the audience will automatically accept what's going on and give the movie the benefit of disbelief, the suspension of disbelief. I'll explain. So, this vampire movie gives 3 arbitrary rules. Garlic repels it. 2, sunlight causes its skin to burn and it causes it pain. And 3, the only way to kill a vampire is a stake through the heart. Anything else, and the vampire is invulnerable and is immortal. Okay? So we as an audience are going, okay, whatever, okay, those are the rules. But the movie then starts following those rules. There's a scene where a person approaches, the vampire approaches someone, and that person pulls out some garlic, and that repels the vampire. and as an audience, we're going, oh, okay, the movie's established the rules, and it's now following them. And then there's another scene where the vampire goes out, and it's daylight, and the sun hits its arm, and you see it burning, and the vampire retreats back inside. And we're going, okay, the movie's not only established the rules, it's following them, so we're now accepting the rules, the arbitrary rules given to the vampire because the movie's following them. This is important because let's say there's a third scene where the vampire encounters these 5 guys, and these 5 guys pull out machine guns. Now, because we know what the rules are, and because the movie's been establishing that it's following the rules, when we see those 5 guys pull out machine guns, we already know, as an audience, we already are going, they're dead. Because not only have we given the movie the suspension of disbelief of the arbitrary rules, we have actually accepted the arbitrary rules. Hell, not only that, we are now defending the arbitrary rules. Okay? So when they pull out their guns, okay, we've automatically already accepted and given the suspension of disbelief necessary. We're literally anticipating that the vampire is not going to die, and that the vampire is going to kill those 5 guys. Now, let's say there's a vampire movie where there are no rules established with the vampire. Okay? No rules are given whatsoever. Okay? So therefore, there's literally no rules for the vampire to follow. The movie to follow. So the vampire is about to kill someone, and he pulls out, he pulls out a marble, and all of a sudden the vampire goes back, and it's like, oh, okay, apparently vampires are repelled by marbles in this movie. We don't know that that's a rule. Despite the fact that it's an arbitrary rule, we don't know what that is. So when it happens, we're literally going, okay, whatever. And then later on in the movie, the vampire is a feather falls on the vampire, and that section of his skin starts burning. And it's like, okay, apparently a feather, this arbitrary rule of a feather falling on his shoulder causes his skin to burn. Okay? And then later on, there's a scene where 5 guys pull out machine guns, start firing at the vampire, and he's like, that doesn't hurt me. And it's like, okay, I guess bullets don't hurt vampires. And then the vampire leaps on the 5 guys and starts killing them. And it's like, okay, that just happened. There's no, there's nothing to accept. There's nothing to connect. There's nothing to give the movie to accept and defend and give the suspension of disbelief. Well, that's what happens in Monster Hunter. There are no rules on how to deal with the monster. And whatever happens simply happens. So when they shoot the monster with, the machine gun and it doesn't hurt them, we're going, oh, okay, I guess machine guns doesn't hurt them. And then they use the 50 caliber machine gun or the Gatling gun or whatever it would be called. And that doesn't hurt the monster. And we're going, okay, that doesn't hurt them either. And then they used RPG, and that doesn't seem to affect or hurt the Diablos. And we're watching it going, okay, because since we don't know what the rules are, we don't get the scene where the captain pulls out the RPG and we go, oh, you're screwed. That's not going to do anything. If we knew what the rules were, we'd be able to, accept the fact that the RPG is not going to hurt it. But because we don't know what the rules are, we're just like, okay, that's a thing. And then later on, we find out that a sword to the back of its skull kills it. And we see that scene, and it's like, okay, that's a thing. That's how you if we knew, if the audience knew ahead of time that bullets and machine guns don't hurt it, but its weakness is at the back of the skull with the sword. If we knew that ahead of time, and the movie had established the rule, and the movie was following the other rules that it would have had, as soon as that guy with the bow jumped on the head of the Diablos, our reaction wouldn't have been, okay, what's going to happen now? Oh, okay, that kills him. If we knew ahead of time, as soon as the guy with the bow jumped on the head of the Diablos and raised his sword, our immediate reaction would have been, okay, Diablos is dead, you're screwed. Say goodbye, Diablos. We'd be able to connect to the scene. We'd be able to accept and defend and react. But without the rules, we're just following along like a lost puppy going, okay, that's a thing. Okay, that's a thing. And that's one of the biggest faults of this movie, is that everything that happens, our only reaction is, okay, that's a thing. As opposed to being able to accept any of the arbitrary rules this movie could have given at all. But that's my biggest disappointment with this movie, is that I don't care. Because I hate to belabor the point, but like with them killing the monster with the sword, okay? Because the movie has it that whatever they want is what's going to kill it, because they don't establish any rules. all that scene was we spent this much time with the Diablos. We want to finish the scene. We're going to have it that killing it with the sword does it. We can now the Diablos is done with. We can now continue with the rest of the movie. Because what this movie does is it treats the monsters like props to just have on screen whenever they want and then take off screen whenever they're done dealing with the monster. Like the Diablos, for example. Okay? The Diablos. Okay? For a large chunk of the movie, okay, up until like the hour mark, most of the movie is about the guy with the bow and the captain having to deal with the Diablos. Okay? We, as an audience, we don't even understand why the Diablos is there. Like, why is the Diablos there? Why is that Diablos monster there? The movie doesn't even, the movie doesn't care that the audience doesn't know. The movie doesn't give an explanation, doesn't give a reason. It's just there. It's a monster prop. Just look at the pretty FX. Then, to further establish how irrelevant the movie makes the Diablos. Okay, I apologize for the crude props, but this is the Diablos. Okay? They kill the Diablos. They look towards the horizon to where the tower is. This is the tower, and this is the Diablos. They walk for days. You look into the horizon, the tower is literally miles away from the Diablos. Why is the Diablos, who's supposed to be guarding the tower, miles away from the thing it's supposed to be guarding in the goddamn first place? Explain it. Because between where they kill the Diablos, traveling for days, getting to the oasis and keep traveling, there's no other monsters. The only monster apparently guard, because they don't get, it isn't until they get to the tower proper where they have to deal with the dragon. Okay? I'm talking about guarding the area around the tower. The only creature guarding the tower is the Diablos that happens to be miles and miles away from the tower it's supposed to be guarding in the goddamn first place. But if that wasn't enough, remember, they leave the Diablos that they killed, walking towards the tower. As they're walking towards the tower, they come across the oasis. Now, anybody here notice a problem yet? Does anybody here notice a problem? In case you haven't figured it out, I'm going to explain it to you. Okay? Here's the Diablos. They are walking towards the tower. On the way to the tower, they get to the oasis where they meet the group of people. The group of people that the guy with the bow was part of that wanted to go kill the Diablos. But after they get to the oasis, after the captain and the guy with the bow get to the oasis and meet the other people, they go this way to the tower. So why, in the name of God, did they go this way the first time to deal with the Diablos that isn't even goddamn close to the tower in the first place? Like what are you doing, movie? You literally established that between where the Diablos was killed and the tower, in between is the oasis, which meant that on their first foray, where the guy with the bow got, stranded, they would have had to have walked this way. Why would they be walking away from the goddamn tower to have to deal with the Diablos that's guarding the tower all the way over here? It's just... But that's what I mean by how this movie treated the monsters as a prop. The Diablos wasn't even relevant to the goddamn movie. It wasn't even relevant to the movie. This movie had to force the necessity of the Diablos. Anyway, I could ramble on, but the final verdict for this film is it's a disappointment. It was an unfortunate disappointment. Okay, I wanted to like this movie. It just ended up becoming a slog to get through. It was literally a chore to just get through the rest of this movie because I stopped caring. I really did. Anyway, I'm out of here. So, in honor of this movie, Vayos con Diablos. It's not like anybody saw this. It's not like anybody got this far anyway. It's just such a waste of my greatness. Anyway, get out of here.